Hi everyone, this is Lorrie Curley, and I am really excited to share this educational presentation with you today. I am an ambassador with Forever. You'll hear that in a few minutes. But what I wanted to do was just explain what we're doing here. So this is just going to be a very quick, brief example of how you can give this educational presentation. I will move very quickly through it, and you will hear me ask questions. Sometimes they're just rhetorical questions, and other times, if I had an audience, I would be asking them to answer some of those questions so that we had some interaction. So just know that this is an example, and I would encourage you to have fun with it and personalize it yourself. Tell stories that other people can identify with. So I'm going to pause right here for a second and go ahead and get started. Welcome to today's class. My name is Lorrie Curley, and I'm excited to help you with your photos and memories. Let's jump right in. So what brings you here today? Have you lost photos in a natural disaster, maybe a hard drive crash? Do you struggle to find specific photos when you want them? Is your cell phone full? Do you get that crazy "your storage is full" message, meaning you have to delete photos before you can take more? Are you trying to find an easy way to share photos with family and friends? What about technology? Do you feel like it's constantly changing and passing you and your memories by? Let me tell you a little about me and my experience. My husband and I have lived in Chester, Virginia for over 16 years. We love the Richmond region, and knowing our 3 children, all grown, are within driving distance. For almost 27 years, I've been helping people with their photos. I started with a company called Creative Memories, mostly to get my own photos into albums, alongside the stories that go along with them. After Creative Memories closed, I found a Pittsburgh-based company called Forever. I am so happy to continue helping people with one of their most precious possessions, their photos and memories. Forever is committed to educating while helping. Every 2 minutes today, 1800. Hard to believe. Sure is quite a statement, isn't it? Now, how many photos did we take in 2017? 7.5 trillion. Amazing. It's almost unbelievable when you think that most of us have a camera on our person at all times. It does make a little bit more sense. From the beginning of time, we have been storytellers. For many years, those stories were passed down person to person, verbally, or even in drawings. Eventually, photography became a part of our daily lives. Do you have a favorite photo? One that when you look at it, you can immediately remember the surroundings, the people, the sounds, maybe even the smells that were happening when it was taken. They mean so much to us, don't they? We take photos during the good times, the happy times, like birthdays, holidays, weddings, vacations. Of course, family history is preserved through these photos, plus videos, letters, and documents to tell our stories. How are these photos taken? This has certainly changed in the recent 10, 15 or more years. Cameras are still a part of our lives, but you can see the vast majority of photos are taken with our cell phones. Those are impressive numbers, aren't they? Check this out. In the past years, when we took a roll of 24 photos, we would develop 24 and look at all 24. Now we might take 400 or 500 instead of 24 and develop 0. But the big question is, how many do we look at? It might be all or a few, but there are times, I'm guessing, that most of us don't look at many of the photos we take. We just snap, snap, snap away with our digital cameras. This is an incredible statistic. 40% of photos are just left on devices in a box or auto backup. We are busy people, and the multitudes of photos we take often sit unviewed. Do you have files like this on your computer? Our digital images and stories are often difficult to view as they sit on our hard drives. So what are our options? What tools are available to help us preserve these important photos and stories? I'm guessing everyone in this room has something shown on this slide. Am I right? Are they your family's memories? Or maybe you inherited them from grandma or great-grandma. Where do your printed photos, slides, negatives, tapes, and more live? I have most of my printed photos in traditional scrapbooks. There are many of them, and I worry if we have a fire, how can I save all of them? I hear many stories about TV stands, drawers, closets, and basements. People are just overwhelmed with the amount of stuff they have. Where are your older memories hiding? There are so many ways we can lose our photo memories. If you haven't experienced one of these disasters, I'm sure you know someone who has. Over time, things happen and memories are lost, and they're very much out of our control. We all want a solution to the potential disasters and losses. This is a fairly new need. When I took photos of my babies 30 years ago, I wasn't expecting to need to do anything to them. But I found that converting the paper photos or the album pages of my babies, and even me as a baby, to digital is a smart decision. I'm able to preserve them without worry. I can much more easily share them with my family, and am comforted knowing I can pass them on to the grandchildren and great-grandchildren that I do not yet have. It's much easier for us to look at these digitally. Do you have something that comes to mind that you might like to have digitized? Photos of your firstborn, or maybe your wedding video. Once you've decided that it makes sense to convert your memories, how do you go about doing this? Let's talk about points to consider about scanning and digitizing. First, there are the available resources. How much money and time do you have for this project? Scanning can be expensive and also very time-consuming. You'll want to consider the time and money you have available. Maybe it makes sense for you to do it yourself, or maybe it makes more sense for you to pay someone to scan so you can spend your time organizing afterwards. Let's talk about your options for scanning. Do it yourself or have someone else do it. If you are considering having someone scan for you, you'll want to think about where the company does their scanning, local to you, in the US, or out of the country. How do they get the files back to you? This is very important and something that I did not know anything about until a few years ago. Some companies use DVDs. Is this extractable, meaning you can move your files wherever you want? Is it editable? I have learned that the files on most DVDs are not editable. And are there backups? USBs, again, extractable or editable? How about a one-time transfer? I had absolutely no idea what this meant or that I needed to consider it, but it is one of the most important considerations. Technology continues to change, and it will continue to change, and we don't want to constantly be playing catch-up. If you can find a company that will scan and digitize for you in a way that it won't need to be done again, that is golden. So what about digital rights? Again, something I've learned. Did you know that often when we put our photos on a company site or even order prints from a print company, that we are agreeing that we turn over the rights to those photos? I don't know about you, but I want my photos to be my photos. What about quality? Is the company committed to quality, or are they trying to cut corners as far as enhancing so they can charge you a few dollars less? There are many trade-offs to consider. And then what about the company itself? What can you learn? Are they trustworthy? I met Teresa through a friend. Teresa had sent 11 VHS tapes of her now deceased father to a random company to be converted. Soon after, she got a note saying the company had gone out of business. She was heartbroken, thinking her tapes were gone for good. Thankfully, a few months later, a box with her undigitized tapes arrived at her house, and she was able to move forward with having a trustworthy company convert those for her. Are you digitizing your photos and memories? As you are digitizing your photos and memories, these are some suggestions you might strongly consider as must-haves. Direct to flash drive. So you want to make sure you have those accessible, that they're editable and extractable. You can do with them what you want. DVD is a great option to have. I know that is what I get for my 85-year-old mother. A one-time transfer to digital. One time, and it never needs to be done again. Ownership. Yep, you need to make sure you own your files. It sounds crazy, but it's true. Easy to access? Again, this is important because you want to be able to access and share your images and your memories however you want, not only through the company's software or site. So here we go again. Let's talk about our more current digital photos and memories. It's a different challenge than the pre-digital ones and possibly an even bigger problem. Where do your images live? Are they on your phone, on your computer hard drive, an external hard drive, DVDs, or even floppy disks? There are so many places, and the places and formats keep changing. I'm guessing that you have images on several different of these formats. How do you save your photos? And how do you keep them organized? Do you use a website or social media? Let's talk more. Can you identify with this? Computers crash. Hard drives and USB fail. Did you know external hard drives have a shelf life of 2 to 7 years? My daughter experienced this when she spent a semester in Spain in 2010. When she left, we purchased a new hard drive for her to protect her photos on. Now remember, this was early enough that she didn't have a phone with a camera and cloud storage was not much of a thing yet. She was there for almost 4 months, and just a few weeks before she came home, she messaged me in tears that her hard drive would not turn on. She assured me she had not bumped it or dropped it. It just quit working. Thankfully, she could get photos from her friends, but honestly, she was quite disheartened because they were not her photos taken from her perspective. It really wasn't the same for her. Did you know that DVDs and CDs can last an average of 4 years? It's not very long. SD cards and camera cards crash too. Most online photo storage is temporary and with no guarantee. Maybe you haven't thought of this either. People can die without a plan for their photos. What happens? When we have printed photos, people find them in their closets and their drawers when they go through their house. But the digital images, they may not have any idea where they're stored or be able to access them. Let's talk about how we actually manage our digital images. If you're like me, you find it challenging and time-consuming. They're often chaotic and easily lost. We are really just a crash or an accident away from losing our really precious photos. I think we've established the need for a digital home, one that keeps everything together in one place, one that allows us to easily find what we want. How about being accessible from all of our devices or any of them? And important for the future, how about a private family network for sharing? Yes. What should we consider in a digital home? Are multiple backups necessary? They are not easy to access, organize, or share, and can easily be lost. What about cloud storage? There are many kinds, including temporary, e-commerce sites where they're also selling to you, and permanent cloud storage. There's lots to think about. You might have been thinking that you weren't sure you know any of the photo storage companies, but I'm guessing many of these names look familiar to you. For most, their primary reason for existence is not your photos, but a byproduct. These are some very general statements about them. For example, Facebook, they do own all of your content, and you have to constantly wade through ads and posts to find them. And not to mention, there is the fact that Facebook reduces the resolution of your images when you share them. You can never get that higher quality image back. How about Shutterfly? Much to most people's surprise, Shutterfly is not a permanent place for your images. Plus, they own your images when you post them there. And often, you must pay back. They do not make it easy. How do you determine what a company's commitment to you is? You read the terms of service. I know, not something most of us do. I've pulled a few key lines from the terms of a few popular companies. So here's iCloud. Apple may at any time, under certain circumstances and without prior notice, immediately terminate or suspend all or a portion of your account. You agree that your account is non-transferable and that any rights to your content within your account terminate upon your death. Upon receipt of a copy of a death certificate, your account may be terminated and all content within your account deleted. This is the one that shocked me. You are responsible for backing up to your own computer or other device any important documents, images, or other content that you store or access via the service. Apple does not guarantee or warrant that any content you may store or access through the service will not be subject to inadvertent damage, corruption, or loss. How about Google Drive? When you upload, submit, store, send, or receive content to or through our services, you give Google and those we work with a worldwide license to use, host, store, reproduce, modify, create derivative works, communicate, publish, publicly perform, publicly display, and distribute such content. And how about this? This license continues even if you stop using our services. Our automated systems analyze your content, including emails. This analysis occurs as the content is sent, received, and when it is stored. Google may also stop providing services to you or add or create new limits to our services at any time. I've been hearing a lot of people who use SmugMug recently. So here are some words from their terms. SmugMug reserves the right at any time at its sole discretion and without notice to suspend, modify, discontinue, or permanently cancel the subscription services. You will not be entitled to receive a refund for any subscription services or fees or other amounts previously charged to you. SmugMug does not guarantee that your user content will be available after the termination of your subscription. You maintain responsibility and liability for any losses or damages you incur for failure to maintain backup copies of your user content. When user content or other files are deleted or your account is canceled, those files will be deleted as soon as reasonable and cannot be recovered by SmugMug. And then there is a company called Forever. You retain full ownership of and intellectual property rights to the content you use storing Forever services. Forever provides a guarantee of preservation for your Forever account and content and enables you to control how your content is preserved during your lifetime and after your death. Forever guarantees the content will be preserved and accessible in your Forever account for the lifetime of the Forever account holder and 100 years thereafter. So let's talk about some things to consider as you are thinking about cloud storage. So a few questions you might ask yourself. Is it temporary or is it permanent cloud storage? Are my memories easy to access from all my devices? How about from any web browser? Who owns the digital rights to my content? Is this a safe and secure place to save my memories? What if the company goes out of business? That's a really great question to ask. Can I store all file types, including documents and videos? How about sharing with others? Is that easy to do? Is there a succession plan in place? So what happens to my content when I die? Can I download my files in full resolution to do what I want with them? Are there organizing tools to record the stories behind my memories? And do they offer support if I have questions or problems? There sure is a lot to think about, isn't there? So what prompted you to take this class today? Have you thought of your photo goals? Maybe the reason you came today is different than your goals originally were after you heard the information I presented today. That's okay. Would you please take a few minutes to record these goals in your notes. So let's go ahead and talk about a plan of action for your consideration since you have learned and may have more well-defined goals after today's class. Step one would be to save your photos. Think about how you can bring everything together from all the digital hubs you probably have. Old computers, filled hard drives, USB jump drives, DVDs, and your mobile devices, and even your Facebook photos. Consider scanning your outdated photos, slides, or negatives, converting the videos into a current digital format. Next step, organize. Since our goal is to build a family legacy, we want to record the details and the stories. Consider identifying the people in the photos, important dates, and especially the stories. This is what really makes a photo special. Group your photos in a way that makes sense to you, by person, family group, event, or location. And if you aren't sure of dates, group them by decade. It sure is okay. Just do your best. In kindergarten, we were all taught to share, right? Definitely keep this in mind with your photos. Create a plan to share your photos and memories with your family. They will love seeing themselves as a child or grandma as a young bride. Think about future generations and how they will learn and benefit from their family history and the stories that molded them. And you can also consider creating photo books or calendars or cards or canvases to celebrate the family fun. This is what I do with my photos. I tell the stories in organized groupings of photos called albums. I can tag people or places or events so I can easily find specific images. I love having my photos organized in a way that I can pass them on to my children and future grandchildren. Thank you for joining me today. I hope you learned some tips that will help you on your quest to save, organize, and share your family photos. And just for fun, this is something that I think we all need to consider at this point. If you would like to learn more and experience it in a hands-on setting, please join me at one of these upcoming sessions. Again, thank you so much for joining me today.